What a joy to hear that music. Thank you so much for joining us. Wherever in the world you are, please let us know in the chat. We'd love to find out where you're watching from, and greetings to you. I'm Tom Clues. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Crossing Borders Music, and we are so excited to share with you this music of composers from the Levant or Arab world. That was Andalusian Muse by Mahdi Al-Mahdi, and a piece based on really a poem that's quite heartbreaking, and a feeling of longing. And I really sense that in the music. Such beautiful, bittersweet music. I am joined today with representing Dozan World, which she founded, Shireen Abu Kader. So great to have you here with us, Shireen.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy, actually, and excited to be part of this program. And thank you, Crossing Borders, again for opening the door for this music. It's very exciting to see this coming together.
It has really been our pleasure and honor. Dozan World is an amazing organization in that, as far as I know, it's the only one of its kind in the world, to the best of my knowledge, that is a publisher of music by composers from the Levantine region.
Correct. I mean, there must be out there others, but our focus is primarily the region. We're very keen on sharing some of the richness and that beauty that we have in our part of the world, and we have some beautiful composers that have been working very hard and doing some wonderful, everything from the folk to the contemporary to the avant-garde, and it's wonderful to, I guess, be their voice in a way. In a part of the world that maybe is not as familiar. And so that's part of our mission in what we try to do.
Yeah, in fact, Dozan World evolved from Dozan wa Autar, which you created many years ago, but in 2020 created Dozan World with the mission to preserve the folkloric musical heritage of the Levant region. And I know in our conversations, a lot of your focus is really being able to share that richness with those of us who weren't so blessed to grow up with it and maybe are not aware of it. So as you noticed, it's all Western classical instruments in that piece and everything on our program today. Tell me more about why your mission and why it's important to you, Shireen.
Well, I mean, as I just started saying earlier, that the music that we have in part of our world is very, very rich, and composition is very much part of the soundscape and the diversity of the region. Because I mean, Arab world, but it's also Levantine in that it's not only Arab, right? There's a lot of different languages and it's different cultures, and all of that creating a soundscape that I think is very unique to this, to the world. And our mission, although now we're in this concert, it's very much within the traditional, but we do hope to incorporate. We are starting to incorporate more traditional instruments, but we're very mindful as well, because we are trying to have this music in the educational systems in the region, in North America specifically. And so we're very mindful about the instrumentation that is found, and we're trying to cater to that, as well as try to promote new and microtonal, which I know we will talk about later, music that is also very interesting and very different in terms of how you approach it as well. But yeah, we're very keen, and having a platform makes it accessible, and we're trying to create as many resources by doing a lot of research, which takes a lot of time, but it's very much worth it. Yeah, we're just hoping that we can bring this music a little bit closer to someone who doesn't know anything about it, right? Be able to open the score and say, oh, this is easy, I can manage this, here's enough information. And we're very blessed with the virtual world now. You can really access so many people out there and really try to get the information you need as well. So
yeah, what sort of an effect do you see that have you seen that have on people?
So far, it's been very positive in terms of people who have been purchasing the music and doing it in the classroom, be it the vocal or the instrumental. It's been quite positive, and people are very excited by the additions just because there's a lot of resources in there, a lot of information that makes just the gap just that much easier. It doesn't come without challenges as well. And as we talked as well about this Arabic music being an oral tradition. So that's always there's a lot of negotiations about how to approach this and how to bring it forth uh, to the teachers and the academics and the musicians, and how are we able to find the balance between that. So it's a learning for sure on a daily basis. There's a lot of learning that's happening.
Yeah, lots of challenges as far as how to have representations that feel right and authentic, and also are accessible, so that as many people as possible can feel that joy and feel that the beauty of the culture and music of this region. Thank you so much, Shireen, for your incredible efforts. Please do check out the website that's on your screen right now, Dozan World. Almost all of the music today you can find in the Dozan World catalog. It is published. They are wonderful editions, and they have really great introductions, or I should say contextualizations of the music, so that musicians like me can learn about and really have a better understanding of the music that we're playing. For example, our next piece is El Hilwadi, an arrangement. And I'm going to share with you some of the notes from Dozan World, which are: El Hilwadi is one of the most known musical works by Said Darwish, the father of Egyptian popular music. The original song portrays Egyptians' lifestyles at the beginning of the 20th century. Although one might think that the lyrics are a simple description of a lady carrying out daily chores, El Helwadi is a symbolic song. It carries social, political, and economic symbols related to the period characterized by suppression in the Arab world. The beautiful lady who wakes up too early to knead the dough and prepare her bread, and the industrial class workers are some of the examples portrayed in this song to reflect class inequality during this period. It's noteworthy that Said Darwish was known for conveying messages of patriotism and resistance to oppression in his works. This song criticizes the economic and social ruling and praises the poor laborers while urging them to thank God for the good things and hold on to hope despite it all. Years later, even till today, El Helwadi is still one of the most beloved songs for Egyptians and all Arabs. I think is a wonderful contextualization. And do you have anything to add, Shireen?
No, I mean, the notes are very clear. I think this is the one thing that resonates a lot with me, is how simple sometimes the melody is, but how layered in terms of the meaning and the feeling that comes with it. And I think that's a big part of what the Arab music reflects in general. So excited to hear it.
This is a beautiful arrangement. Please enjoy this arrangement for string quartet, available on the Dozan World catalog, of El Helwadi. So nice to hear that beautiful, beautiful music, Egyptian melody, and really beautifully arranged. We're so excited to have the composer of the next piece on our program, and by far the longest, biggest piece on the program. This is my honor to introduce my new friend, Nahla Mater, joining us late from Cairo, where I think there's a watch party that she is a part of. We're so happy to have you here with us. I want to let people know that you are an Egyptian composer, teacher, and musicologist. You were the director of the Kulthum Museum and the Ministry of Culture in Egypt. You're currently a professor at Helwan University in Cairo, and the founder of the Composer Music Atelier, also in Cairo. You have a doctorate of musical arts in composition from Arizona State University, and you were also the second prize winner in the International Women Composers Competition. Nahla says, "My compositional style might seem shocking at first, but it is always authentic. I blend at least two major cultures in my work, Western and Eastern. I was brought up in Muscat, Oman, and currently live near Cairo, Egypt. My compositions are concerned with the self and the soul, and my music is concise and well constructed." In her free time, she enjoys exploring old cities and having coffee with dear friends. I hope someday we have coffee together. Nahla, thank you so much for joining us and staying up late.
Oh, thank you, Tom. It's not that late, and thank you all here, and thank you, Shireen. It's a great, wonderful opportunity, and thanks for, of course, the musicians for such, inshallah, wonderful performance.
Thank you so much. So this is really was an exciting piece, and with a lot going on, both musically and especially the concept of this piece, Ode to the Manial Palace. Could you tell us a bit about this work and what inspired you to write it?
Sure. Well, Ode to Manial is a string quartet and was composed in 2017, celebrating Prince Crown Muhammad Ali Tawfiq, who was born in 1875 and died in 1955. And the friends of Manial and Prince Abbas Helmi, one of the grandchildren, commissioned this piece. Manial, just as a name, is a part of a small inhabited island in Cairo called Rhoda Island, and the Manial Palace itself was built between 1898 and 1929. I will try to be concise as possible, just to give people, freedom. This piece reconciles a lot of past issues related to public and personal life of Egyptians. I chose to write it for string quartet, as such genre is prestigious, but at the same time is intimate. I have composed it following some of the 19th century Western music trend that musicologists know as program music. I have read a lot about the Crown Prince, and also I read text by him, which inspired me a lot to such delicate personality. I have visited the palace to connect with the most of its spaces. As a result, I wrote or authored a text that will be like the program that make you know where you are in the palace, and so, which is, there is a fictional narrator, a passerby walks in the nighttime wandering, this is what I imagined, and there is a big fence for this palace. It's just in the middle of Cairo, in the middle of Rhoda Island, and wonder what is behind that, what secrecy is there. And suddenly a tunnel will open and he will enter, or she will enter, and somehow they will find the prince himself walking in a majestic way and absorb some of his habits. There are 4 movements in this piece, and separated by 3 intermezzi. Please pay attention to title and subtitles that will appear in the video to guide you, and and some pictures of the space and the prince. The spaces incorporated in the program are four, like residential hall, the throne hall, the golden hall, the reception hall, and then the garden and the mosque. To achieve a great unity, this is like musical and effective dramatic narration. I made all these movements like one large sonata form, following Schumann's pattern. And there is a main melody, a fixed idea that is representing the crown prince, and you will find it and you will know it when it comes, because it's simple. And also I will, you can find the majestic pathway and you will know it, and it will change. It will walk with the prince, it will dance with the prince, it will, when he talks with a friend, and you will find him within us.
That's beautiful.
Did you have enough?
So this is really, you're telling a story of somebody encountering this beautiful palace and all the different sort of states of mind that might be there, and also the story of the prince who built the palace. And yet now I know the palace it's no longer used as a palace. It's a museum and a site of culture. And I wonder if that also is part of sort of your inspiration, that this palace is now a museum that's sort of a keeper of all these cultural artifacts and all this artwork. Did that sort of enter your mind as you were thinking about this piece?
It is nice to feel like you can bring some life to what we call museum, because museums most of the time, like especially for people who are not interested in such culture, it's like silent, always labels, and then like guide tours, but you don't have the soul. And really reading Prince Crown, his diaries, and he traveled 30 summers of his life to Latin America, to Europe, to Japan even. He's doing diplomatic stuff. It's and at the same time he is like such poet in a way. Also, there is a lot of science. He was engineer. So it's like there is a soul, and of course, as a human soul, like he never was the king, and he lived in the palace for 20 years. While they are establishing the palace, and supervised everything. And it was his will to make the palace museum. So it's good to bring the soul, and I think this is the function of arts, but it's not in a direct way, but really like in an inspiring way, in a more personal way that might fit each one's imagination.
So you're making these spaces come alive through your music.
I hope so.
Shireen, I know you are a big champion of Nahla's music.
Yes, her and of course all our composers, but Nahla was a joy to discover, because one, as a woman, it was so wonderful to see that there was another woman doing all this work, and we connected. I think we connected on so many levels when we met. And by the way, we've never met in person. Our connection has always been virtual. So I'm looking forward to the day when we also have coffee. But we connected not only on the gender and the area that we come in, that we share so many, be it social and economical, like we know what it feels like to grow up in our part of the world. But it was such a joy to actually meet someone musically, that we can have these intellectual conversations and talk at a deep level about what music is and how it connects to the place. So it's I'm very, very honored actually that Nahla has given us permission to be part of her musical world. And we do hope to champion a lot of her music as well, because as you will hear soon, There's a lot of substance and meaning and depth in the music, and this is what we're always looking for. As publishers, we're looking at the stories and the heart and the soul that comes with the composers, and Nahla is definitely one that does do that.
Beautiful. Nahla, I wanted to ask you, my understanding of the Manial Palace is that the architecture draws on a lot of different influences from different areas, and I wonder if that's also reflected in your music.
Yes, because and definitely also, usually I don't write music in the style of late romantic somehow. I mean, I'm more of avant-garde composer, but here, because there is a program, there is like some kind of I'm owing a debt to a great figure, really, and I need to be in his world, so I have to be actually, like doing a lot of stuff that's related to his world. And he was a friend of Saint-Saëns, and this is why Saint-Saëns came in upon his invitation and wrote the Egyptian concerto. Even Saint-Saëns was in Upper Egypt, but I made him today, like in the third movement, in the reception, talking with Prince Muhammad Ali Tawfiq. In the beginning of the 19th century, we have Muhammad Ali Pasha, the founder of modern Egypt, and this is like the most modern reality Egypt had. And Cairo Opera House was in Cairo, the European Cairo, or a piece of Europe. Cairo as a piece of Europe was done by Khidevi Ismail, which is like also from the family. So there is like a connection between Western culture and Eastern culture, and it's always like on fire somehow. Most of the time, it's almost like they are both in contrast. So Prince Muhammad Ali Tawfiq really was like educated, very well educated in the Western science and literature and diplomacy, but at the same time, he had a great taste for Eastern art, like Turkish, Persian, Moroccan, Andalusian. I mean, this is number of the styles in the Manial Palace, and it's very eclectic, and also, but reflect the way he is really merging things together. And I try just, of course, I'm basically Western music educated, so I never really played an Arabic music instrument, but even I have like ear for it. I have some knowledge, but definitely there will be like elements of microtones, or what we call it quarter tones, just to open the smell, or open like it just, in term of like, there is a lot of harmony or texture or polyphony, but then you will find a microtone and you should treasure it, because it's almost like essence, like we call it in Arabic abaq. So it comes passing, but it should make a huge difference. Or I mean, this is the way I imagine it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nahla, so much for sharing about this beautiful work. I'm so excited to share it in one of the first performances outside of the palace itself, and certainly the North American premiere. And Nahla was so kind to help us with images of the palace so that we can see exactly what's being represented in the music at times, as we're listening, and imagine strolling through the palace and all of that history and culture that's there, and all that it represents. I'm so excited then to share, without further ado, the Ode to Manial Palace. Wow, Nahla, how are you feeling? Oh, I think you're muted. Nahla, I think you are on mute.
Sorry, thank you very much. I'm so happy, and my small audience here also is very happy. Thank you, Shireen, for supporting Arabic classical music. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure listening to it and just going deeper into who we are and what we are, and enjoying the art of it. So thank you, Nahla.
Oh, thank you. Tell us, Tom, I mean, we feel like you are really living here and you saw the Manuel Palace, you and the rest of the ensemble. We were wondering how you really, thank you for getting so in touch with the music.
Thank you so much. Those images really helped me connect the music to the palace. It was so helpful for me to have those. With the title Mosque Atmosphere, we can kind of imagine that there's a spirituality and a quietness, but to see the images just made such a difference in the way that I connected it. It was beautiful. You had mentioned changing the subject a bit, Nahla, just a couple places in that piece where we have, let's call them notes that are not on a piano. They're really musical intervals that are outside of the Western system, and which we really have some difficulty with our Western European musical notation systems capturing. But when for so many people, when they hear them, it's, for example, I want to credit our violinist Rasa Mahmoudian, who really helped us out with those intervals that we're not used to having in our ears, but he is growing up in Iran. He really helped us out to be able to hear those intervals and hear how we can play them. And for people like Rasa, it really sort of transports him back to that region and back home when he hears them, and gives that, you were saying, that certain smell or that certain color when you hear those, and paints that picture. And it's interesting also then in Levantine music or music from this region, it's very traditional to have a melody and everybody kind of playing that same melody. And Nahla, you use those intervals, though, with people playing different notes at the same time in sort of a harmonic way, an innovative way.
Yes, it's I mean, usually I think it's easier to incorporate those notes in contrapuntal texture rather than just very vertical, because they seem sometimes out of the intonation to the ear, and they don't follow the harmony. But I also like to get them in a more bold, I don't really hide them, but I made them in a texture that somehow it's can make them prime notes, not ornaments or something like you can get rid of. Of course, I mean, in this piece we don't have them a lot, but I think we have them enough to get to the idea and the balance that I previously talked about the eclectic style and West meet East in the Banial Palace.
Yeah, I love what you said. You're not trying to hide those notes, but you're proudly using them. You're not shying away from those intervals.
Yes, because there is the school that like Harmi a lot within the Arabic, culture, and they want to use the notes. So they usually get it like not on a accentuated beat. They make it like not a fundamental note in a chord. I think this is. I think people can do better because those notes are the prime actually, and you have to respect them. And it's you mentioned that they are intervals actually. And traditional Arabic musicians know better than me in this because I'm not well trained. But you don't change only the frequency of one note. Actually, it's a group of notes that has gravity, and the either lower or higher according to inheritance. So you don't just you know adjust the frequency and hit it. Actually, you have to have an atmosphere for it or a melodic direction for it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nahla. And Shireen, I know that this is something that comes up a lot in addition to other challenges in publishing music, using European notation that was never intended to be in European notation.
Yeah, for sure. And it's continuously continuous negotiations and continuous experimental, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And definitely some things work better than others. I do agree with Nahla when approaching, microtones, and that contrapuntal music tends to work better for sure. And so, yeah, and the challenge then, it's one of those things that, as Nahla was mentioning, that you need to live with. So how do you take this in a classroom, where nobody has any idea, and you put them in that space and expect them to have that feeling? So I get, I don't think I have an answer. I do think listening is key. Just the more, people listen, the more they just get into that, and not one interpretation or two, but 5 and 6 if they can, to really get a sense, to be able to play it as, I want to say, authentically, or as faithfully as possible, right?
The forbidden word, authenticity.
Yes.
Shireen, and I think it's really good that now we have like a publisher and that encountering those brave issues, because we need pedagogical material. I mean, like, if composers are composing, they have no idea how to, maybe they have one or two, but definitely we need like an army of pedagogical, because otherwise it's really like, a performer or a singer, how can they approach that? It's quite challenging.
Yeah, and even with pedagogy, as you very well know, that too many people have too many opinions about different kinds of pedagogy as well. So to even agree on some kind of a pedagogy that kind of works is a challenge within itself as well. But we're up for it, and it's time for it, and it's time for such material to be present. Even if it's not the best, at least there's something there that people can look at and revisit and revise. We're not claiming that we have the answers. By all means, we're actually still in the question period, and I think we will be for the longest time. But definitely, it's good to start asking them, and see how we can. Because if really we're talking about music bridging people and bringing people together, then we better have some kind of an idea to be able to do that, right?
Yes.
So, and take responsibility for it. Really,
rather than take them apart, make them apart.
Exactly.
Tom, just, I think the coming piece is the suite, isn't it? Or
yes. This is.
Okay. And let's say that, I mean, what I like is that the use of those microtones are in harmonic vertical contest, and it's really like opening up, even, opening up the ear and the sensory. So again, composers are creative, and they can work it out if they believe it.
Yeah.
And definitely you need really a good friend of performers to make that come through.
Yeah.
I really like what our past collaborator and mutual colleague Isa Boulos said, Shireen, in a conversation that we had, that just as, let's say, a pianist in Egypt may work on, let's say, a Chopin etude very diligently and be expected to play it with just as much stylistic sensitivity as a pianist in Europe, so too do I feel like I here in the United States, here in Chicago, have a responsibility to do my very best to play these microtonal intervals that I'm not used to hearing, that I did not grow up hearing, but I have a responsibility to do the best that I can, to listen as much as I can, and to practice that, to reflect those intervals and that musical tradition to the best of my ability, which was very much, Nahla, as you mentioned, very much an issue in this next piece, which is a beautiful, beautiful suite, Lebanese suite by Tufek Sukar. And it uses all kinds of these intervals that are not on a piano, and it uses them in harmonic ways, so different notes sounding at the same time, just like you were saying, Nahla, in a way that is not how they might always be traditionally used. Tufek was very much interested in creative possibilities. In fact, he said, I first actually want to point out that Tufek would like to be known as a Mediterranean composer and a Lebanese composer. He says, Lebanon is located exactly where the Orient and the Occident meet. It looks out over the sea, and the sea brings us the Western world. And on the other side, beyond the mountains, lies the Orient, the deserts and all that. That's Lebanon. It inhabits both worlds. And throughout his musical life, I think we see him in the piece that we're about to hear, using these Western classical instruments, playing these Mediterranean Lebanese melodies, using these Lebanese intervals. And also he used Lebanese instruments, but in ways that were not the ways that they're traditionally used, making what we would call polyphony, or different melodies and different sounds and different harmonies with them at the same time. I want to express my appreciation. I mentioned to Rasa Mahmoudian, our violinist, and also I should credit my other colleagues, Jen Leckie, also on violin, Wilfred Parkerson on viola. I'm Tom Clues playing cello. And I also wanted to thank Nena, Tufek's wife, Nena, who provided this score to us at Crossing Borders Music. And I have a few words from Nena that I'd like to share. She wanted to emphasize that for Tufek, Lebanese music is Mediterranean music because of its geographic location and the influences that the country has received. She said, for Tufek, traditional music is not and should not be fixed, but should serve as a basis for an evolution of national music. She said, Tufek does not slavishly apply the rules of Western harmony to Lebanese music, but he adapts his polyphony to Lebanese modes according to the requirements of the music, thanks to the training that he received. And without further ado, I really am very happy to share with everybody Tufek Sukar's Lebanese suite. I love hearing those intervals and used in very creative ways. Nana, if you are watching, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. And Shireen, again, thank you so much for being here with us. Just beautiful music. Shireen, I wanted to ask you, what is it? Because I know I'm a founder of a nonprofit organization. You're the founder of Dozan World. And I know very well that it is difficult work to create something from scratch, and it takes a lot of time an effort kind of behind the scenes that people are aware of. What is it that lights a fire and motivates you, that you envision, or that inspires you when it's difficult work? Because I know it must be.
It's actually extremely difficult, and you're asking me at a time where I'm actually questioning a lot of it, but not enough to give up on it. But it is very challenging. We're faced with many challenges regarding copyrights. We're faced with a lot of challenges gaining composers' trusts. We're gaining a lot of challenges in spreading the word and people understanding a little bit about, this type of, work that we do. So the work is actually, yes, quite tough. However, having said that, it's in the moments that we hear music like this today, or we hear a choir singing some of our vocal works, and one person comes and says, "Hey, this was really important. This was so good." We kind of thrive on that a little bit. It just reassures and reaffirms that what we're doing is of value, and people are seeing it, not in the way that we want, and we're hopeful and hoping in the magnitude. But we do recognize that we're growing and we still need time. But it's really feeling a sense of responsibility with a passion, right? Because we're all musicians doing this, and so we understand the value of music making and the stories behind it and the hard work that goes behind it, and also the lack of any kind of, because there's no copyrights back home. And so, so composers to entrust us with this and realize that they can actually make some kind of income, no matter how small, but it is something that they're valued that way, as well as being heard and being played authentically and, not authentically, maybe that's not the right word, but faithfully and with heart. I think that's the drive, just feeling connected with the composers and the music, and feeling a need to keep at it, to make sure that it's, people are feeling it and understanding it, and being part of it, and being able to share it with them, and them doing, just being able to play it well, being able to sing it well. There's lots of research that goes into the music. And so we're very adamant about this. It's taking longer, but I have a lot of faith in this little baby that we've created.
That is beautiful, and it is so challenging. And there are so many different kinds of challenges, I think, which is why the work that you're doing is so rare. And I would love to learn if there are other people doing similar work. Please let us know. Please put comments in the chat. I would love to connect, and I'm sure Shireen would as well. But very, very challenging work, and there are so many obstacles, as you mentioned, legal obstacles, developing these relationships of trust, explaining to people what you're doing, the cultural sensitivity, and the challenges of earning artists' trust, that you are there to affirm them and affirm their work. That takes time to develop those relationships. I'm wondering, Shireen, if there's a part of your life and your story, maybe a certain time where you felt like, this is something that's really important in the world, maybe based on your own experience.
I started feeling that when I went to libraries as a young student, and would look for books, and I was very interested, learning in a college, and I went to the U.S. For my undergraduate as well as my graduate, and I've been to many music stores, and I always felt very saddened in that I would be looking at music and would rarely, an off chance, I'd find a book about Egyptian lullabies or something like that. But and the magnitude of all types of other music were humongous, be it the Italian or the French or the all of that. It was and so that was always heartbreaking for me. And then, as soon as I started, being in the working world, no longer a student, felt, it's, if we don't do it, us, the musicians, the people from the region, who else is going to do it? So I'm privileged that way, in that I'm able to do this, to be honest with you. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and feel very grateful that I've earned a composer's trust, such as Nahla and, Mahdi and Cesar, who I know we will hear soon, and Ili Kallab as well. So yeah, that's really
You were doing incredible work, and we really appreciate it. And once again, Dozan World, please check out their website and their catalog. Some really wonderful, wonderful stuff. I also wanted to lift up a comment from the chat, somebody saying, here in Lebanon, Tufek Sukar is the composer that inspires so many of us. This master from active decades ago, so inspiring. And yet I hear, again, in the United States, in Chicago, first encountering him for the first time as a 40-year-old just doesn't seem right. Let's know about these composers and let's celebrate their works. I just love the music on our program, including our next piece that you mentioned, Cesar Bashini, who wrote about this piece, Oriental Nights. Quote, on a spring evening in my neighborhood in Damascus, I wander alone. The sky is still exceptionally bright. In this weary street, I hear my babbling neighbors' voices carried from their old balconies by the breeze. I ramble, I wander alone in that street while voices call me and scents allure me. Hold on, stay here. And here I am, gazing upon the bluish evening sky, wandering carelessly, driven by my nostalgia only. Where will it take me? My country, Syria, is characterized by a lovely temperate climate and ancient iconic cities with a deep-rooted ancient history and rich history. Whoever visits our well-established cities experiences mental clarity and self-transcendence and leaves with the tranquility and sense of belonging of that area. How could they not, when our land has been the cradle of civilization? Evenings in my country are different, allying popularity and civilization. The uniqueness of our soirees, neighborhoods, traditions, and customs tells the story of nostalgia, the story of yearning and longing for the unknown. Spending one evening here will let you know and experience rebirth and relive your youth. Very
poetic.
Really paint a picture. Really paint an atmosphere, and I think we find it also in this work. And those notes, I have to mention, I know because they are part of the Dozan World editions. And so not only is there the published music and the notes, but really the information that helps us learn about the pieces, the composers, and the intent of the music. Did you have anything to add, Shireen, before we hear this?
No, but I do remember reading when we asked Cesar to send us a little bit about the story for this piece, and he sent this poet, and I said, yes, this is exactly what we need, because that just gives you a sense of what was behind all of it. So yes, no, it's perfectly said, so I won't add anything.
You couldn't possibly miss the pride. Let's hear, without further ado, Oriental Nights.
Perfect.
A beautiful and sweet piece. Since we're near the end of our program, before I forget, I do want to thank, as I mentioned, Rasa Mahmoodian for helping us out with those intervals that we're unaccustomed to hearing. Nala Mata for joining us on this live stream. Of course, Shireen Abu Kader for joining us in your wonderful work, Shireen, with Dozan World. Also, my colleagues Jen Leckie on violin, Wilfred Farquharson on viola. Aidan Kranz did the video, and Ryan McDonald the audio. We recorded thanks to the hospitality of Second Unitarian Church of Chicago, and we were supported by the Paul M. Angell Family Foundation, the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, the Illinois Arts Council Agency, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the MacArthur Funds for Culture, Equity, and the Arts at the Richard H. Driehaus Foundation. Special thanks also to the Crossing Borders Music Board and our community of people who are watching and supporting us. Everybody who is watching right now and listening and taking part and letting your friends know about this awesome music and awesome initiative. I do also want to thank Miran Choi, who they've been working behind the scenes this entire live stream to make things so smooth. And I also want to welcome Miran to come and join us and say a few words about Crossing Borders Music, since they are one of our board members.
Hello, Tom and Shireen. Thank you so much for the introduction. Also, hello, everyone. My name is Miran Choi, and I'm a board member of Crossing Borders Music. Thank you all so much for joining us in today's live stream and for supporting us in our efforts to promote the dignity of people from all cultures. Our work centers on the sharing of music and stories of people from underrepresented cultures in community to uplift and to affirm. By sharing these conversations and experiences, we not only grow better informed, but we are also able to cross out the borders that ignorance, misrepresentation, and prejudice can create and perpetuate. If you are enjoying today's live stream and are interested in our future events, please check out our website at crossingbordersmusic.org or our Facebook page for more information. Our next live stream will be in celebration of Juneteenth. Please join us on Monday, June 19th at 7:30 for an evening of premieres. And we'll also be having several in-person events in the Chicagoland area throughout the summer. Whether in person or online, we hope you will join us again as we continue to share much-needed stories. Thank you.
Thanks, Miran. We just have one work left on the program. Once again, Nahla, thanks for joining us. And Shireen, thank you so much, not only for joining us, but for the wonderful work that you're doing and for sharing in a way that I found very, very touching about why it's so important, both to you and to all of us. We have just this one work left on the program. Do you want to tell us about it? I think it's, I mean, all of the works are our favorites, but I think it's among your favorites.
Among my favorites, simply because Ili Kallab is one of our first composers that joined us and had faith in what we're doing and shared with us this beautiful piece. I heard a bunch of his pieces, and this tango, there was something about the tango that just was very moving. And when we learned a little bit about the story, was even understandable why. Tango al-Ma'bur comes from the name of the neighborhood that Ili Kallab grew up in. And there's a bittersweet story to it in that he wrote this piece because of all the memories that he grew up there. At one point, they had to evacuate and he had to move out of that neighborhood. And so this is kind of a homage to a place that built memories and friendships and nostalgia. So yeah, this is Tango al-Ma'bur.
Like so much music, there's that sweetness, but that bitterness put together. This was such a fun piece to play. I hope everybody enjoys listening to it as much as I enjoyed playing it. Our last piece on the program, Tango al-Ma'bur.
Yes.
you.